Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're stepping into the time machine and traveling back to the birth of a nation. We're going beyond the textbook dates and taking a closer look at the key battles of the American Revolutionary War, the gritty, muddy, and pivotal moments that forged the United States of America. This wasn't just a war of ideas. It was a war fought by real people in real places, with everything on the line. So grab your tricorn hat and let's march into history. It all kicked off on April 19th, 1775. The shot heard round the world wasn't fired in a grand open field battle. It happened on the village green of Lexington, Massachusetts. British regulars, on a mission to seize colonial military supplies in nearby Concord, were met by a small band of colonial militia who fired first. We still debate that, but what followed was a running fight back to Boston. The battles of Lexington and Concord showed the British that this wasn't just a minor rebellion. The colonists were organized, determined, and willing to fight back. This was the spark that lit the flame of revolution. Just 2 months later, the conflict escalated dramatically at the Battle of Bunker Hill. Though most of the fighting actually took place on Breed's Hill, the colonists had fortified the high ground overlooking Boston, a direct challenge to British control of the city. The British, confident in their superior training, launched a frontal assault. Twice they were pushed back by the determined defenders. On the third charge, the colonists, low on ammunition, were finally overrun. It was a tactical victory for the British, but a devastating one. Their losses were staggering, proving the colonial forces were not to be underestimated. As one British general famously wrote, "A few more such victories would have shortly put an end to British dominion in America." It was a moral victory for the patriots. They're boosting their confidence and solidifying their resolve. Fast forward to Christmas night, 1776, things looked grim for the Continental Army. General George Washington's forces were depleted. Morale was at an all-time low, and their enlistments were about to expire. They needed a victory, and they needed it desperately. In a daring and now legendary move, Washington led his troops across the icy Delaware River in the dead of winter. They surprised a garrison of Hessian mercenaries at the Battle of Trenton the next morning. It was a swift, decisive victory with very few American casualties. A few days later, he followed it up with another victory at Princeton. These small but brilliant triumphs were exactly the shot in the arm the Revolution needed. They reinvigorated the cause, boosted enlistment, and showed the world that Washington was a leader capable of bold, strategic action. The turning point of the entire war, however, came in the fall of 1777 in upstate New York. The British had a grand plan to split the colonies in two by seizing control of the Hudson River, but their strategy was poorly coordinated. American forces, led by General Horatio Gates and the brilliant field commander Benedict Arnold, confronted the British Army under General John Burgoyne near Saratoga. After weeks of intense fighting, the Americans surrounded Burgoyne's forces, cutting off his supply lines and escape routes. On October 17th, Burgoyne was forced to surrender his entire army. The victory at Saratoga was monumental. It wasn't just a military win, it was a diplomatic one. It convinced France that the Americans had a real chance of winning. This led to the Franco-American alliance, bringing crucial French money, troops, and, most importantly, their powerful navy into the war on the American side. Without Saratoga, the revolution may well have failed, but the road to victory was still long and hard. The winter of 1777 to 1778 at Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, is a testament to the Army's endurance. It wasn't a battle against the British, but a battle against starvation, disease, and the brutal cold. Thousands of soldiers perished without a single shot being fired. Yet, under the watchful eye of Washington and the disciplined training of the Prussian Baron von Steuben, the army didn't collapse. Instead, they emerged from Valley Forge as a tougher, more professional fighting force, drilled and disciplined in the European style of warfare. This transformation was crucial for their ability to stand toe-to-toe with the British regulars in the open field. Now let's head south. By 1780, the British had shifted their focus to the southern colonies, believing they'd find more loyalist support there. They captured Savannah and Charleston, and things looked bleak for the patriots. But the British strategy backfired. Their often brutal tactics and the actions of loyalist militias alienated many Southerners, sparking a fierce and ugly civil war in the back country. American commanders like Nathaniel Greene and Daniel Morgan employed brilliant guerrilla tactics. At the Battle of Cowpens in January 1781, Morgan executed a masterful plan, tricking the British forces under the infamous Bastard Tarleton into a devastating trap. It was a tactical masterpiece and a huge morale booster for the patriot cause in the South. This all leads us to the grand finale. After the punishing Southern campaign, British General Cornwallis moved his army to Yorktown, Virginia, a port town on a peninsula, expecting to be resupplied or evacuated by the British Royal Navy. This was the moment Washington had been waiting for. In a brilliant feat of coordinated strategy, Washington marched his combined American and French forces south from New York. At the same time, the French fleet, under the command of Admiral de Grasse, sailed up from the Caribbean and blockaded the Chesapeake Bay. Defeating the British fleet that was sent to relieve Cornwallis, the trap was sprung. Surrounded on land by the Allied armies and cut off from the sea by the French Navy, Cornwallis had nowhere to go. After weeks of siege, he was forced to surrender his entire army on October 19, 1781. The world was turned upside down. The surrender at Yorktown effectively ended major combat operations in the Revolutionary War. It broke the will of the British Parliament to continue the costly conflict. From the first defiant shots at Lexington and Concord to the final, decisive checkmate at Yorktown, each of these battles was a crucial chapter in the story of American independence. They were fought by ordinary people who rose to do extraordinary things, shaping not just a new nation, but the very course of modern history. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the battlefields of the Revolution. If you found this interesting, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into history. Let me know in the comments which battle you find the most fascinating. Until next time, stay curious.